Hello, hello, and welcome to our live masterclass, the 10 mistakes aspiring illustrators make that are preventing your success. And of course, I'm not just gonna leave you hanging there. I'm gonna tell you what to do instead. So, yay, let's get into it. First of all, I know y'all busy, so is this masterclass for you or not? If you have a dream to become a professional illustrator, but you're not sure exactly how to get there, then this is definitely the right class for you. And if you've been trying to sell your art, but it's just not quite working like you want, then this is a class for you. If you're starting to think, is it even possible to make a living from art? Like, I've been trying so hard, I'm not getting anywhere. Is it just because my art sucks? Are you thinking that sometimes? I know that I used to think that all the time. So I want to reassure you first and foremost, because it just breaks my heart when people tell me that. It is not you and is not your art. Your art doesn't suck. Yay! So that's the good news. The bad news is, chances are your strategy sucks. Okay? But the thing is, that's something that you can change, okay? You can learn strategy. You're not stuck like this forever. Being bad at business, being bad at marketing, it's not a personality trait, okay? It's just something that you haven't learned yet, but you can, okay? If there's anything that you retained from this class, I want it to be this. You have the power in your hands to learn any skill that you need to succeed. And that's why you're here, right? I'm sure that you think it's still possible. That's why you're here to learn. So first of all, any of you that don't know me, hi, I'm Vanessa. I'm a full-time professional illustrator. I've been for over 6 years now. So far, I've illustrated 7 picture books. This is in the last 3 years mainly, because the first 3 years of my career, I was working in a studio. And the last 3 years, I've been doing freelance. So I've been completely by myself the last 3 years, and I've done quite well. I've illustrated 7 picture books. I've signed with my agent, Astound Us. I've worked with amazing clients like Sourcebook and recently Scholastic, which was an absolute dream for me. And most of all, I'm making a living for what I love most in the world, art. And I want that for you too. However, it all looks great and peachy when I say it all like this, and some of you might be thinking like, it's so easy for the ones who have it, right? But it wasn't always like that. And a few years ago, I was exactly where you are right now, okay? I've been through it. It's not easy for anyone, and you can do it too, just as I have. A few years ago, when I started freelancing, I sent my portfolio to over 200 publishers, okay? I sent those emails. And I didn't get a single contract. How disappointing. I had no clue what I was doing. I didn't know why it wasn't working. I tried everything: Fiverr, Upwork, Instagram, forums, sending emails. And it was just so bad that I started losing confidence in myself and thinking, it's just because my art isn't good enough. That's why it's not working, right? ID says, that's me. Exactly. You know, when stuff isn't working like that, you just think, it must be because I'm just not cut out for this. But that's not true. I made it work, and you can too. And all the mistakes that I'm going to be talking about today, the very reason that I know that these things don't work is because I've made all of these mistakes myself. Okay, so if you are making these mistakes too, it's okay. All of this is fixable. Okay? It's all fixable, but first you need to know that you're making a mistake, right? Diagnosis is the first step to doing something different, okay? So I know that talking about mistakes like this, like, you're doing wrong, all of this stuff is wrong, it can be a bit abrasive, but I don't want you to think about it that way, okay? And don't take it personal. It's important to know what you're doing wrong so you can stop doing it and spend your time on some things that are more worthwhile, okay? Strategies that do work. So come into it with an open mind and don't take any of this personal. I've made these mistakes too, and I have a beautiful career today, so there is hope for us all. Today we're going to do some serious myth busting. We're going to challenge everything that you think you know about the illustration industry. All of your assumptions that you're making, all preconceptions, everything that everyone's ever told you about it. We're going to turn it all inside out and upside down. Are you ready? Awesome. So mistake number 1, believing it's impossible to make a good living with art. That's the first mistake. And if you're here, then you're probably in one of two camps. One, you do believe that it's possible, in which case, congrats, you're way ahead of any other person. Or two, you're still trying, but deep down, you're not really holding out that much hope that it's actually going to happen for you, right? And that's a really, really big mistake because it changes the whole way that you approach everything. But this one isn't on you. It really is on society. From the moment that any one of us is just verbalizes the idea that we want to go into art, immediately everyone and their grandmother is trying to dissuade us, right? Everyone is telling us, you can't do that. That's not a real job. You're going to starve, right? Everyone just freaks out. We have no help, we have no guidance, and no support. Everyone is so much more interested in dissuading us from art than trying to help us succeed with it. The prevalent message that we're being given out is the starving artist stereotype, right? You can't go into art because you won't be able to support yourself. It's just not something that happens. Like, it doesn't exist. An artist that makes a good living, that's not a thing. Sabrina says, sounds about right. Yeah, we've all been there, okay? That's something we all have in common. We can all commiserate about all the people in our life that told us, why don't you get a real job? Like engineering maybe? And you might have even inadvertently reinforced this belief in yourself later in your life, right? Maybe you started giving this illustration thing a chance. You tried selling your art and it didn't work at all. And you just got really discouraged and you were like, maybe they were right. Maybe they were all right because I tried and this isn't working. Elisa said this was exactly why I stopped my degree 10 years ago. And I just finally started back up. The thing is, art, it's our passion. It's in our blood. It doesn't go away that easily. I'm sure that all of you here have been told that it's a bad idea to go into illustration, and yet you're here today in this class because you haven't given up. That's how strong your passion is. And that's why I'm passionate about helping you guys, because I know just how much you want it. I know just how important this is to you. This isn't just a passing fancy. And the best thing, I'm happy to tell you today that it's a lie. It is completely possible to make a living with your art. If you need to hear this today, you can. It's possible. I mean, if it wasn't possible, how do you explain what I've been doing for the last 6 years, right? I've been making a great living with my art, and I'm far from the only one, and you can too. Everyone who ever told you that it's impossible actually has zero knowledge of the illustration industry. And that's something that when I think back on this, like my mother and my teachers and everyone, they had no knowledge of the illustration industry. It makes me angry thinking how sure they were when they were telling me that there's no way this can happen. How did they know? And why are we listening to these people? Why are we taking their word for it, right? When we were children, we didn't know any better. And these people had our best interests at heart. So we took their word for it. But now we're adults and we're able to decide for ourselves, do our own research. And actually, the illustration industry is just as good as any other job. All right, I want to give you just a few examples of some artists that are killing it, okay? Just to show you a little glimpse of what is possible. This is Nathan W. Pyle. Oh my God, Strange Planet, that's my favorite. Have you ever heard of Strange Planet? It's a little comic on Facebook. It started as a little comic that could, now it's an enormous brand because his characters are absolutely amazing. Now there's like 8 books or something, there's merchandise, like look at these little plushies. I was in Toys R Us the other day and I saw there was a board game of Strange Planet. A board game. He has t-shirts, mugs, stickers. Just this week he's released an Apple Store app. Little stickers that you can put in your text conversations with the little beings doing cute stuff. It's absolutely wonderful. This isn't a big company. This is one guy who started Strange Planet. Netta says, I love Strange Planet. Oh, it's just my favorite. And the reason I love this example is look at the art style. It's extremely charming, but it's actually not that high skill, right? It's not that difficult to do this sort of art style. If it's very simple, I'm sure that everyone that's here today has enough skill to draw something like this. And that means any of us has a potential to start something like this. We do. Now, another example, my favorite, Rebecca Green. She is a children's book illustrator. These are only a few of the children's books that she's illustrated. She's worked with the top publishers in the business. And just recently, this week, I think, she's announced that her children's book, How to Make Friends with a Ghost, is getting turned into a stop motion animation show. How amazing is that, right? This is the teaser promo picture of it that she just released. Her own show she's gonna have. That is so amazing. And again, this isn't a big company. It's just one lady in her little studio drawing, and she's created this success for herself. It's amazing. And this is all sorts of things that we have the potential to do, okay? And much, much more. It actually quite baffles me that society doesn't think that we can make a living with art, when actually art is all around us. Picture books, greeting cards, t-shirt designs, animated movies and shows, stickers, patterned fabrics, album covers, etc. Like all of these things and more. Imagine the amount of people it takes to create all of the art in the world, the workforce. There are like thousands and if not millions of working artists. I'm willing to bet that if you look around the room right now where you are, that you can find at least one thing that has art on it. I have on my desk a little pencil case with a kitty on it. Maybe the shirt that you're wearing, or maybe you have some art on the walls, okay? It's absolutely everywhere. All right. Another thing here to finish this point is that you also don't have to be a genius to succeed, right? We sometimes think if I'm not Norman Rockwell, there's no hope for me, right? That it's only the very few people who are exceptions that can succeed. But no, that's not true at all, okay? I'm not a genius and I'm doing well, thank you very much. Mostly we just need some strategy and some business knowledge to propel us, and then we're off. We're good to go. So why is this such a big mistake, right? This is mostly a mindset thing, right? You might think, even whatever I believe, why is it such a big deal, right? Well, if you don't truly believe it's possible, you're sabotaging yourself, even subconsciously, okay? You'll always have a backup plan. You'll always have an excuse not to put in the work. And you'll always have trouble finding motivation. Because why bother, right? If deep down, you really don't think that there's any hope for you, like you don't think it's gonna happen for you, it's really hard to find motivation when that's your core belief. And Lucia said, totally agree, strategy is the key. Yeah, the thing is, I see all the time artists that are succeeding that their art is not that skilled. And I don't want to shade anyone. I'm just saying you don't need to be Norman Rockwell to succeed, okay? There are all skill levels of artists who are succeeding. And I also see a lot of extremely skilled artists who are not going anywhere. And that's because of their lack of strategy. And I'm just like, I'm itching to give them a good business plan, because they could do so much if they had the right business strategies. So it's possible to not only survive with art, but also thrive. I want to let you know, since I've left the studio, I'm now making a better income by myself as a freelancer than I was when I was working at a studio. I've surpassed that income. It took me a year. And I'm making more now, and I'm starting to wonder, why did I ever work at a studio? I don't need them. Like, I can just sell my stuff, right? All right, mistake number 2, spending too much effort on Instagram at the beginning of your career. Okay, hit me up in the chat right now if you're doing this, if you're feeling a bit burnt out from Instagram, right? Are you posting on Instagram all the time? Do you feel like it just takes so much time, your Instagram, that you don't have time to do anything else? Let me know in the comments right now. Again, this mistake, I don't think this is really on you, because the advice that we hear all the time is if you want to make it as an artist, you just keep posting on Instagram. Just keep posting more and more and more, and someone will notice you. And if you're saying, I'm posting, but no one's noticing, just post more. Keep posting, it'll happen. How's that going for you? Right? This advice is just not very good. But to be fair, it used to be much better advice than it is now, because there was a time where not every artist was on Instagram. And at that time, it was indeed possible to start posting your art and grow an account very, very fast and very quickly, like in a matter of a couple months, get noticed by a larger audience and start to get picked up by art directors and all of this. It used to be a thing. But now Instagram is extremely saturated. Every single artist in the world is there. Some of them have multiple accounts. Now it's not that good of an advice anymore. Sandrine says, I got lots of views from my last video, but it only brought me 2 followers. Yeah, definitely worth the time, innit? Now, to get noticed, Instagram gurus suggest posting as much as 3 times per day. That's not a typo. Not 3 times per week. 3 times per day. That is cray-cray. Seriously. Maybe if you're an Instagram model, you can just snap a quick selfie and post it, and you can do that. But for artists, who has time for this? Seriously. Do you have time for that? I don't. I sure don't. And I'm sure none of you do either. If you keep cranking out art, you're just gonna burn yourself out. And also, it doesn't even work because it's a quantity over quality approach. You're just gonna produce a bunch of fast food art that's not gonna grab anyone's attention, right? If you're posting every single day, you have to make this art, right? You have to crank it out so fast. You don't have time to really think about it. It's not well thought out. It's not your best work. It's not your really, truly good masterpiece that's going to grab people's attention. They're just going to swipe, scroll, and forget all about it. And you're taking so much time to do all this stuff. And I'm not saying that Instagram doesn't work at all. It does, okay? It's a good strategy for later in your career, right? Because at some point, when you've grown it to a large enough following, then you can reach those art directors. And it starts with a little bit of work trickling in, work that you didn't have to find yourself. And that's good. It does help later in your career. The thing is, Instagram, well, it does work at some point. It has 2 big problems. First of all, it doesn't convert well, okay? When I say conversion, I mean converting visitors, people who are watching your art, to paying customers, okay? It's infamously hard on Instagram to get people off the platform, right? To get them from looking at one of your posts into your website to contact you, all of this stuff. Infamously difficult. Instagram, the way it's set up, it's sort of like the peanut gallery. People look at art, they don't really do anything about it, they scroll by. And also, a very large percentage of your following isn't your target audience, okay? How many of your followers are art directors? Very little, probably. Most of them are just people who like art, but they're not planning to buy anything. So these people, they're just numbers, vanity numbers, they're not doing anything for your career. The second problem is related to the first problem. Because it doesn't convert well, you need very huge numbers to start seeing an actual move of the needle, right? You need at least 10,000 followers, or probably more now, to start getting semi-regular work from the platform. Okay, and gaining 10K followers, wow, that is going to take a while. It's so difficult nowadays. 10K, it used to be a bit easier to gain 10K. Nowadays, it's like screaming into the void. Getting all the way to 10K, that takes a lot of work and a lot of time. So as for myself, I have about 2,000 followers now, and I've only ever gotten 1 gig from Instagram. Woohoo! In over 3 years, 1 gig, and it was under $500 too. It wasn't even a big gig. $500 does not a career make. okay? And yet, I've been earning a very good living freelancing for the last 3 years. That's because I don't rely on Instagram for work, okay? Instagram, it can be one of the strategies that you use, most likely going to work better for you later in your career. In the beginning, it's not going to do much for you, but at any point in your career, putting all of your eggs in one basket is a bad idea, and especially in the Instagram basket. So what to do instead? Don't wait for clients to find you. You can go to them, okay? You don't have to play the game where you sit at the bar and wait for someone to hit you up, okay? You go get those clients. Go get them. Make a list of companies you want to work with and get into contact with them. Nowadays, emails or postcard work really nicely. You can do that without Instagram, okay? You don't need that. Just think about the time it's going to take you to make it big on social media. Are you willing to wait all those years so you can start your career? Or do you want to start your career now, right? Do you want to start getting work now? I'm willing to bet you do. All right, mistake number 3. Are you ready? This one is a big one, and I'm telling you right off, this is the most slides out of any mistake from this class. This is the big one, okay? It's also the most controversial, pricing too low. Many of you know that you're pricing too low, but you don't know how to get out of it, right? You're like, if I increase my prices, no one buys from me anymore. So what am I gonna do, okay? Tell me in the comments if that's your problem. We are going to tackle this today, okay? I'm gonna let you know why you're stuck, okay? And why your pricing is helping you stay stuck and what you can do to get out of this loop. And this is the biggest mistake, right? This is the mistake that will most prevent your success. Juan Jose tells us, yes, that's one of my problems. And it's difficult, like seriously, it's difficult to get out of this. So I'm not blaming you at all. Lucia says, pricing is my biggest dilemma. Absolutely. I'm really hoping that I'm going to help like reframe this in your mind today. So pricing, indeed, it is the biggest mistake. And that's because to make a living, you need payment. That's the first thing that you need. So pricing too low is the thing that has the biggest effect on your ability to make a living. All right. So obviously, when you price low, you get less money. All of you are smart enough to have figured this out already. But it's not just that, okay? The effects go so much further than just that. So how do we even get there, okay? How do we get to pricing this low? Let's run a little scenario here. Let's say you're opening commissions, okay? And it's your first time doing it. First time opening commissions, you have no experience. You feel like, your art is decent enough, but it's not the best art in the world either. Just being realistic. You're like, I know I can still improve some things and I don't have experience. So I'm just going to start low, right? I'm going to start at $50 and I'm going to raise my prices later. Sounds pretty reasonable, right? But then you don't sell any. And even worse, some people maybe even tell you to your face that your prices are way too expensive. $50, who do you think you are? And that just, whoa, that gives you a really big hit in your confidence. You're like, maybe I am too expensive. Like, I didn't think, for the time it's going to take me, I didn't think it was this expensive, but I guess everyone's telling me it is, so all right. So you lower it to $35 and you still don't get any. So you lower it to $20 and then woohoo, you sell one, yay! So you start working on it and it takes you 10 hours to draw. You've just made yourself $2 an hour. Whew, there's a lot to unpack here, right? Right there, that's pretty discouraging. As you finish this commission, you're gonna be like, that was a lot of work for $20. That's what leads to mistake number 1, right? Not thinking it's possible. You're like, I cannot believe I've been trying to get commissions for 2 months. I've been lowering and lowering and lowering my prices. This is my first one I've ever gotten. And it was not worth the money. Like, seriously, $2 an hour? And you're like, how is this even possible? How do I do this? Like, it's ridiculous. And then people like me are telling you to raise your prices, and then you're like, I can't possibly raise my prices. I know that it's not much, but charging this low is the only way that I get any work at all, right? Like, I'm not making much, but at least I'm making something. At least I'm getting some commissions. Let me know in the comments if that's you, okay? Because there's no shame in that at all. I can totally understand where you're coming from. But there are several problems with this reasoning, okay? First of all, $2 per hour or even $5 per hour, right? Like, if you had charged the $50 that originally we said in our scenario, $50, 10 hours, that's still only $5 per hour, okay? And you can't make a living on that no matter how hard you try. Even if you work 24 hours a day and you don't sleep and you're a robot and you draw every single hour of the day, you're gonna earn a whopping $48 per day. That's less than $1,500 per month. It's not enough to live on, okay? It's just not worth it. And then if you're thinking, at least it's better than nothing, actually it's not, because you are actually losing money working on this commission. You could hit up every single fast food joint in your town and get a job today making more than $2 an hour, okay? If you're doing this commission instead of doing something else, like even if it's flipping burger, you're losing money. Even right now, you sitting in your apartment doing nothing, it's costing you more than $2 an hour just to do that, right? If you calculate your rent, electricity, heating, internet, it's costing you more than $2 per hour to be sitting here right now listening to this live. So you are losing money when you choose to do that commission. And then something that we don't talk about enough. Low price commissions are the most competitive place to position your art, okay? How many artists are offering $10 commissions or $20 commissions? You can go on DeviantArt right now and in a matter of a minute find 100 of them. I give you 2 hours, you can find me like 1,000 of them. It is so competitive. So you're having actually more difficulty finding work because of your pricing, right? You're positioning yourself in an extremely competitive niche. And lastly, if you're thinking, but I'm going to raise my prices later, this is also going to be very difficult to do because people get used to your prices, okay? This is a principle that's called anchoring in psychology, okay? You throw out a price. The first price that's getting thrown out is the one that sticks in someone's mind, okay? So you tell them, my work is worth $20. In their mind, it registers forever as, this is cheap art. This is art that's worth $20. If you try to turn it around the next year and tell them, actually, this is art that's worth $500, they'd be like, get out of here. Seriously, this is cheap art. You told me this was cheap art. I know it's not luxury art. That's what you told me, okay? It really sticks in their mind. So if you're still thinking right now, okay, but I can't charge $500 or $400 or $1,000 for a commission. Like literally, no one will pay me $400 for a commission. Are you sure about that? Seriously, think again. You think there's no one on the planet that wants to pay you $400 for a commission? Why do you think that? Okay? I want to put things into perspective for you today and challenge that idea. I said I was going to challenge your ideas, right? We live in a world where someone bought a banana duct tape to a wall for $120K. $120,000, that is, in Miami. Why do you think someone would be able to pay this much for this, but not for your art? You think this is better than your art? Here's another example. NFTs, they've been going wild lately, okay? The biggest one, the ones that sold for the most, 69 million. And recently, there's an 18-year-old that sold an NFT called Vampire Queen for $500,000. Okay? There are people in the world willing to pay that much for artwork. It's a possibility. It exists. There are so many people in the world right now walking around with more money than they know what to do with, okay? It exists. Emilia says, we look at it from a Western point of view, but there is big competition between artists who live in countries with different purchase power. That's something that it really bothers me, okay? Because the first people who are going to tell me this are the people from those countries, okay? I have artists from the Philippines or something who say, but if I charge $5, for me, that's a good amount. So what? It means because you're from the Philippines, you're not allowed to charge more than $5? Of course you can. Like, you're not worth less just because in your country the cost of living is less, or wherever you are. You know, I had an artist from the Ukraine who was talking to me, and she was like, I know $20 is not a lot for America, but where I am, it is. Well, imagine if you had charged $200. You would be rich. And why don't you think you deserve that? You do. Like, you're allowed to charge whatever you want, no matter where you live, okay? It actually can even be an advantage, right? If you live in the Philippines, the $400 will get you further than it will get an American. That's a good thing. It's not an excuse to charge less. It's a benefit for you, right? Just because you're in the Philippines, it doesn't mean that your art is any less good. And you're allowed to make a very comfortable living from your art. You're allowed to be rich from your art. Like, why don't we think that's allowed? Like, why do we think we only are allowed to barely survive? I can only charge minimum wage or something. No, you don't have to. Heidi says, I grew up in the Philippines. I used to be super happy for a $500 contract for the whole book. And I know that for you it was a lot of money, but imagine if you'd gotten like industry average for this, right? If you'd gotten $5,000 for that book, wouldn't that have been even better? And you deserve that, Heidi. And that's something that it makes me really, really angry. It makes me really angry, the people that give this argument, you know, just because someone is in India or in the Philippines or in Ukraine, that we're like, they're not allowed to want money, or they're just allowed to stay barely living. That's the most that we're going to afford them. No, that is absolute bullshit. Absolute bullshit. Whew, let me just calm down from my little rant. It's just, there are so many people in my community, wonderful artists from places like the Philippines and India and stuff, and they think that they have to put up with this sort of pricing. And I'm like, heck, you could be living like a queen. Why don't you, right? You deserve that. And it really makes my blood boil. I need to calm down. All right. Art pricing is completely subjective. Completely subjective. Your art is worth whatever you say it is. If you say your worth is $1,000, some people will say it's too expensive. They will. But that's what it's worth. That's what you say it's worth. You're like, well, it sucks that you don't have enough money, but that's what it's worth, right? It's worth whatever you say. And what we're willing to pay for something, it depends so much. It's completely dependent on what we're used to. And you can get people used to your prices, right? It's something that it's entirely up to perception. For example, the new iPhone comes out, it's $1,000. We're all like, wow, what a deal. We line up to buy it. Just 20 years ago, the idea of paying $1,000 for a phone was absolutely ludicrous. Do you remember that time? Where phones used to be like some piece of plastic stuck to the wall with a cord, and it cost like $20. But nowadays, $1,000 for an iPhone, we've gotten used to that. And it's fine now, right? It's so weird. It's complete perception, right? Let's give an example. If Apple was doing what artists are doing, okay? I'm gonna look at what other phone companies are doing. Okay, the average phone is worth $50. Since we're new in the business, let's do a bit less expensive to be competitive. So we're gonna do our iPhone $30, and we're gonna raise our prices later. Do you think that would have worked as well? No, like it wouldn't. What they did is they charged really high from the beginning. And at first people were like, whoa, you know, but then they tried it and they were like, oh, actually it's pretty cool. And nowadays everyone is super used to the fact that that's what it costs. Okay. And some people can't afford it. That's true. Some people can't afford the iPhone, but no one is even suggesting that it's not worth that much. We're like, oh, it's too bad I can afford it, but it's a really good phone, you know? And that's because they've gotten people used to it. Also, they went the extra mile to create a really good product. That's how they justify the price tag. So, whatever pricing you decide, if you stand by it and refuse to budge, you can get people used to your prices. But this can work against you. If you tell people that your work is worth $5, they're going to believe you, okay? They are forever going to be thinking, this is a cheap artist. They make cheap art, entirely perception based. And you're going to get people used to that price. When you try to charge $500 for cheap art, people are going to be like, no, ludicrous. This is cheap stuff, right? Just because that's what you presented yourself as. And this also affects the whole art community. With so many artists on the internet nowadays charging somewhere between $5 to $20 for art that really should cost $200 to $500, clients are being taught that this is what art is worth. Okay? And I know that we love to bitch about clients who are offering peanuts and it's ridiculous. And we're like, how dare they? But really, part of it is our fault, right? Because there's like thousands and thousands of artists charging $5. We are the ones that are teaching clients that this is what it costs. And then we turn around and we're like, I'm so surprised that they think it costs this much, right? We really have to stop doing that because we are teaching them to not respect our work. And the more we keep doing this, the more we're devaluing art as a whole for everyone involved. So what to do instead? Reframe the worth of your art in your mind, okay? Before you're able to charge like $500 or $1,000 or whatever it is, you have to believe that it's worth it. Like, you have to own the fact that this is what it's worth in your mind before you can confidently say it, okay? So a few people today said, I just don't know if my prices are low anymore. Well, first of all, start with a livable wage, okay? Calculate the time that the piece is going to take you to make and charge very minimum $20 to $40 per hour, okay? Remember that what you do is skilled labor. It's not flipping burgers. It's skilled labor. It took you years and years and years to learn how to do your art. Also, it's freelance, okay? You don't have benefits. You don't have vacation. You don't have insurance, all the taxes, all the day off, all of that stuff, okay? It's not included. So it has to be very minimum $20 to $40 an hour. I charge more now. Like, I started $40 an hour. Nowadays, it's more like $60 to $70 an hour that I charge. Also, the hourly rate is not really well thought out for some situations because it also depends a lot on the copyrights. But a livable wage is a very good place to start. Okay, so let's say something is gonna take you 10 hours to do. You charge $40 an hour. Okay, that's $400 right there. Okay, and at first you might like almost faint at that. You might be like, oh my God, that's too much. I can't possibly charge this. People are gonna laugh at me. Okay, get used to this price first. Okay, repeat it until to yourself, this is worth 500, this is worth 500, this is worth 500, until it feels natural. Okay, then you say it to everyone and stick to your guns. You are going to lose clients, but those are clients that are not willing to pay you what you're worth anyway. So do you really want them? Like, you don't need to hang on to buy clients. Remember, when people just balk at your price, when they tell you your prices are too expensive, that's not actually what they mean, okay? They're not telling the truth. They're not really meaning your prices are too expensive. What they're trying to say is, I don't have enough money, okay? That's what they're really saying. The thing is, that's not a you problem, right? That's a them problem. It's not your problem if they don't have enough money to afford you. And you absolutely do not have to lower your prices because they don't have enough money. Okay, you have to think about your own bottom line, right? This is your living. And then we're getting to the good stuff, okay? So the whole smoke screen, the pricing debate and everything, low prices, medium prices, high prices. The thing is, being able to get clients, it's not really about pricing deep down, okay? If you're having trouble, prices are part of it, but it's not all of it, okay? The real problem, the real reason that you're not getting clients is because of targeting. You have a targeting problem. You're not targeting the right clients, okay? Pricing is part of that, right? There are clients out there who are willing to pay good money for art, and those are your ideal clients, okay? The ideal client is a marketing term that we all have to figure out when going into business. We make our product, we make our service with our ideal client in mind, and everything is tailored to them. From our prices to our service to the package, the offer, everything is based on what would our ideal client need. When you're pricing too low, you're targeting the cheap clients. You're attracting a client who wants to pay $20, okay? You're thinking that pricing low is the only way you can get work. But actually, by doing that, you're positioning yourself to attract clients that you do not want. Okay? When you increase your prices, all of your cheap clients are going to drop off. Who do you think you are? I can't pay that. No way, it's not worth that. But after you're rid of those, you're going to be able to position yourself to other clients who do want to pay you. And it is going to take some work. Okay, it's not all about the pricing. There is more to it than that. I don't want to say that, if today you bump your prices up to $500, suddenly that you're going to get work out the wazoo, right? And it's going to fix everything. Pricing is only one aspect of this equation. And if you feel like your art right now as it is, that it's not worth that much, there are things that you can do to make it a product that is worth that much, okay? It could be spending more time on it, right? If you're used to spending 10 hours on commissions, well, what if you spend 20 hours on it? Of course, you charge accordingly, right? But if you spend 20 hours on it, then maybe it's this extra good that is worth the money. Maybe it's taking some online classes to improve very specific things that you need to work on. Maybe you've been really bad at backgrounds all your life. Well, take that class in perspective. It's time to increase those skills. Maybe you offer a bigger format or more details or characters. If you offer watercolor commissions, then maybe you offer free shipping already framed, framed artwork. And then you put that in the price as well, $2,000 for an original watercolor, but it's big. There's a lot of details. It's already framed and you get free shipping, right? It starts to feel appealing. It could also just be better customer service, right? That's also part of your offer. Presenting yourself, right? Really professionally, every step of the way. Great communication. That's all parts of the things that are going to make people feel that they're getting a luxury service. Something that's really worth it, and that you're someone that knows what they're doing, a premium artist, etc. There are other things that you can do here. The one thing that I want you to remember from this, right? If there's only one thing that you remember, don't build your whole business model around attracting clients that don't have money. That is just not a winning strategy, right? There's no business in the world that does this because it just does not work, right? Your business model has to be built to work in the first place. Otherwise, you can put as much effort as you want into a broken business model. It won't get anywhere. And attracting clients that are only willing to pay $20, that's a broken business model, okay? So let's move on. This was the big one, right? Not every mistake that we still have to go over are going to take quite this long. Don't worry. This was the big one. Mistake number 4. Trying to do what everyone else is doing. All right. So we all know as artists, it's really important to find our own unique voice, right? Art is all about expressing ourselves in a unique style. It's very important. And all of you are very, very good at doing this in your personal work. I always see you posting your art in my group. You're all absolutely wonderful. All of your work is so unique and great. But then there's something that happens that's really quite baffling. Whenever we go into commercial illustration, the second we start looking about maybe fitting into a commercial illustration market, suddenly we forget everything that we've ever learned about artistic voice. Right? Suddenly we're like, what is that? I don't remember her. Let's give you an example, okay? Let's say you're an amazing artist who does very intricate, gorgeous watercolor illustrations that are to die for, okay? And you post in my group with your beautiful art and you say, hey, what do you think about this? So I want to get into picture books, but in order to do that, I would have to learn digital art. That's something that I hear a lot, and I really wonder where that comes from. Okay, why? Why would you have to learn digital art? Your art is already beautiful just the way that it is. We all assume things like this. It's really baffling because we make these assumptions most often without enough knowledge in the market to make that assumption in the first place. Okay, why is everyone assuming that we need digital art to do picture books? Like, who said that? Where's that information coming from? Right? It's human instinct to fit in. When we do something new, we just look around us, check what everyone else is doing, and we do the same. That's how we learn. So we think things like, I need to do digital to do book illustration. Or another that I've seen a lot recently, all the pattern designers do vector, so I need to do vector. Okay? But you don't. You can do you, because that's the thing. In a sea of digital art, the watercolor artists would really stand out, right? They would get a lot of work because everyone would be like, wow, that's different, that's unique, that's amazing, right? If you do what everyone else is doing, you're only erasing what makes you special. Your style is what makes you different from your competition. It's what's going to make the difference between do they hire you or someone else, right? What makes you different from the next guy? If you copy the person next to you, nothing makes you different from them, right? But if you stick to your original beautiful watercolor, then, you know, you were already winning. Why you need to change that? And Marta says, I think people mistake having digital skills with doing digital art. You do need digital skills, but you don't necessarily need to do digital art. That's a very good point, Marta. Like, for instance, the watercolor artist, you do need the skills to digitize your images, clean them, and send them as digital files. But you do not need to become a Procreate artist. You really don't. In fact, traditional styles are coming back on trend because the last 20 years, it's been nothing but digital, 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 and people are starting to get tired of this, right? We're starting to want to come back to the natural feel. So what we're seeing a lot is digital styles that copy the traditional look, though a lot would Procreate, you know, brushes that look like watercolor or brushes that look textured like coloring pencil and stuff. Or straight up traditional styles is what is coming back on trend. So what to do instead? Have a very hard think about what makes you unique and memorable, okay? And then lean into that, all right? Even if you think that no one else is doing that, then that's a great thing. That's actually a great opportunity. You know, if no one else is doing coloring pencil, you're gonna stand out like crazy, okay? You do have to fit within the needs of your market. So you can't do like horror, gory styles in picture books. Like, there are limits. Use your common sense. But as long as you are meeting the needs of the market, you can do your style. So like watercolor in picture books. Like, why would children not like watercolor? Like, it's not a thing. Watercolor styles perfectly acceptable in picture books, okay? Leslie says you have to do what is you. Absolutely. That is why people are going to hire you and not the next person. Mistake number 5, using platforms like Fiverr or Upwork. Ding, ding, ding. All right, so for people who don't know, I think most of you do, Fiverr and Upwork are platforms where artists can connect with clients, okay? And in theory, that sounds great. Like maybe you're thinking, well, I'm having trouble connecting with clients. And there's an app for that. Like, wow, that's perfect for what I need. The thing is, in practice, these platforms are so bad for artists, okay? They are rampant with low prices and exploitive practices. Being on these platforms is actually just doing mistake number 3, right? Pricing too low. And these platforms devalue the whole illustration industry because they create these ludicrous pricing expectations. If you go right now on Fiverr and you type children's book illustration, okay, most of the people, the prices are starting at $10, $20, $30. It's ridiculous. If everyone is charging that, that becomes the expectation. And that is so bad for our industry. Very, very bad. And you think Fiverr or Upwork cares about that? They absolutely don't. You know, these platforms, how they work is they take a percentage of your sales. So while you're breaking your back doing slave labor on the commissions where you're getting $2 an hour, they're getting rich off of your work, of your slave labor practically. It's honestly, I don't think these platforms are ethical at all. Absolutely not. Michaelis says, so many nightmares I've heard about Fiverr and toxic clients. Absolutely. There's a weird correlation that I've noticed that the less money people are paying, the more demanding and toxic they are. Isn't that crazy? It's like, it should be the opposite, but the more people are paying, the more they give you freedom and respect and let you do your thing as an artist. Like that's a whole other thing. All right. Another thing that we don't talk about enough, the copyright situation on these platforms is just horrifying, okay? It is actually written in their terms of services that all the work done on the platform is work for hire. If you don't know what that means, work for hire means that you don't get to keep your copyrights. You are giving your copyrights to your clients, okay? And at first, when we're just starting up, I know if you're anything like me, I was like, I don't care about my copyrights. What's that matter? Like if they're giving me $200, get all the copyrights. Like I don't care about that, okay? But the more I've progressed in my career, the more I've realized how big of a mistake that is, okay? As illustrators, we are in the business of intellectual property, okay? Your copyrights are everything that you have. It is so important, okay? Because your illustrations, you can resell them. Okay, if I make a set of watercolor icons, which is what I'm doing lately, I make a page of watercolor, let's say cats, okay? I can turn them into stickers, put that onto my Etsy shop, okay? My Etsy shop gives me about $1,000 every month. I can sell art prints. I can license this work, okay? That for a license for a greeting card is about $500 for a greeting card, about between $1,000 to $1,200 for a fabric pattern, etc., etc. These deals are also, they can be non-exclusive, so I can sell that same illustration to more than one company. I can put this design on Redbubble, sell t-shirts, stickers, mugs, whatever, okay? At the end of the day, I can get literally thousands and thousands of dollars from this one sheet of little watercolor icons, okay? But if I sell my copyrights for $200, that's it. I can't use it anymore. And my clients can make that money off my work, right? They can sell it again. And I can't, okay? I've come to a point in my career that I've realized even if someone offers me a very good price for my copyrights, most of the time it's not worth it because I'm at a place where I can actually make more money selling it myself than I can giving my copyrights away, okay? And so copyright's so important. And these platforms, they're all work for hire. That's absolutely horrifying. Normally, like in the industry, copyrights are exceedingly expensive because the client, if they want to buy your copyrights, they have to compensate you for all your basically future revenue, right? All your loss of revenue for you not being able to sell your art to other people, they have to compensate you for that. Do you think Fiverr and Upwork are doing that? Like, they're already barely paying you enough for your time. They're already paying you just $2 an hour. On top of that, they get your copyright. You know that this means that they can turn around and sell the design to Walmart and make $1 million, and you're not getting a cent of that. It's absolutely horrifying. And then once in a while, it is possible, once in a blue moon, to find a good gig on that. Like, I won't say it doesn't happen. It happens once in a while. But then, what do you think happens? Every single artist on the site will fight over this gig, right? Because it's so uncommonly good. And that makes it just exceedingly competitive. All right. The thing is, there are great gigs outside those platforms that aren't as competitive, that are just so much easier to get. Okay. So what to do instead? Contact clients by yourself. We live in a world where email exists. Okay. You can just send them an email. Why do you need Fiverr and Upwork for? You don't. You really do not. Mistake number 6, being too afraid to ask a client your questions. Asfa says, how do we get the copyright? You automatically do. As soon as you create something, the copyright is yours. All right, so mistake number 6. And this is something I absolutely used to do too, all right? So if you are afraid to ask your clients questions, I get you so much. No shame at all. It's normal. You know, we're afraid of looking inexperienced. We want to seem like we know what we're doing. So there's something that we don't know. We're like, oh, what am I going to do? Like, you don't want to ask them because you don't want to look like a fool. I completely understand this. So this leads us to not asking enough questions before we accept a project. We don't ask enough questions about the contract, right? Maybe there's something in the contract you don't understand, or something you're not comfortable with. Or we don't ask questions even when we're working on the art. It's a recipe for a disaster if you just go off on your way not knowing something because you're too afraid to ask. I see a lot of questions in my groups, okay? People are asking questions to me that really they should be asking to their client. So let's say someone posts in my group, they're like, what color profile should I use for my book contract? Or, I'm in discussions with an agent right now, but if I sign with them, will I be able to still look for my own work? And whenever I get these questions, I'm like, why are you asking me this? You're already in contact with your client, presumably, like 100% your client will know more about their own project that I will know. Like, I don't know about this project. I don't know the answer to this. And you know, it's not because I don't want to answer you guys' question. If you know me at all, you know that I don't mind helping you with anything that you need. And I would like literally stay up all night answering all the questions. However, I don't know everything. And if it's something specific to a project, there's no way for anyone in the world to know this, only your client. And you're too afraid to ask them, right? That's really not good. That's a big problem. Part of what makes us afraid of asking questions is that we imagine that there's kind of a standard way to do things, and everyone in the world knows this, but we don't, right? We haven't been told about the secret. So we're like, I can't ask, I'm gonna look like such a noob. The thing is, there's no such thing as a standard way. Every project is different, every company is different, every printer is different. They all work in different ways. There are things that come back, you know, more often, like color profile. If it's in print, usually it's CMYK, but not always. Even then, not always. We always have to ask, even the pros, okay? Not asking questions can lead to a serious disaster. If you go off on your way, you do all the project in the wrong color profile, on the wrong size, or the wrong margins, the wrong bleeds, the wrong anything, even the wrong style. You know, they see it, they're like, that's not what I wanted, because you didn't ask about it, you know? It can really lead to a disaster. And pros ask a lot of questions, okay? So don't you worry about it. You won't look unprofessional. If anything, you might look amateur if you don't ask questions, because it's a norm to ask questions. Any and all questions. Seriously, I shower people with questions whenever I get a project. I ask questions after questions after questions. I'm sure some of them are dumb questions. I don't care. I need to know the answer to do my job, right? And I've never had anyone have any problems with my questions. They much rather I know the answer, right? They want me to know the answer so I can do a good job. So ask away. Alexandria says, this is super helpful. Fear of looking incompetent is one of my biggest insecurities. Yes. And the biggest way to not be competent is to ask your questions, to make sure that you are working with all the information that you need. And Lena says, we call it brief. Yes, you will receive a brief, but that's something that's really weird, okay? Whenever I work with clients, they send me a brief. 100% of the time, not all of the information I need is in that brief. So weird. You would think they would know. Like, how many times they don't even tell me the size the book needs to be until I ask them? Like, these are professional art directors. You would think they would just give me this information. But seriously, we have to ask everything. It's super important. I'm just leaving you with this little wisdom nugget here. It's way better to ask a stupid question than not ask it and then make a big mistake, right? Don't fear looking stupid by asking a question, because if you mess up, you will look stupid. All right. Mistake number 7, working in different styles and different art markets. I talk about this a lot, and every time it is super controversial. There's always an artist that's like, I love to work in different styles. Don't tell me what to do ever. And I understand this. Like, it's such a common artist problem because we love to draw everything. We do. I love to do different styles. And the idea of doing a single style for the rest of my life, not appealing. Like, I understand where you're coming from. Just from a business perspective, you have to do one style at a time. If you're trying to get work, you need to focus on something, right? It doesn't mean that you're going to have to do this for the rest of your life. But if you try to do everything at once, you're probably going to crash and burn, girl. Like, you need to not do that. Sarah says, every time. Hey, didn't you want a cover? Where are the art notes for that? Absolutely. Seriously. Even big companies. All right. So we love to draw everything. And some artists think that it's actually a good thing because they think if I do many different types of art, it's going to open me more opportunities. It's going to open me more doors. Okay. And that sounds like logic. I will agree. It sounds like logic, but in practice, it does not work. It doesn't. I've tried it both ways and I was having so much trouble. I was trudging through it. The second I started to specialize, I got more work. And every time I narrow my focus more and more, my career has another boom. Okay? Specializing is the shit. That's what you need to do. The thing is, when you offer everything, the only people that it works on is bad clients. Okay? People who just want a good deal. They love having artists who can do anything. And I've noticed when I was drawing in multiple styles, I was treated more often as a commodity, kind of like as a hand for hire, right? I noticed that I had a lot less creative freedom. The clients were the kind of people that would just pay very little and then think that they could just micromanage me and tell me exactly how to draw every single thing. You know, change this, change that. Oh, but it's not my style. I don't care what your style is. You draw how I want you to draw, right? And horrible pay as well. It just comes with that kind of client. Badly paid and micromanaged. So, great clients with great budgets. Presumably, those are the ones we want. So what do they want? Okay, you always have to ask yourself, what does my client need, my ideal client? And what can I do to attract them, right? So if we put ourselves in the shoes of a great client, an art director who has $10,000 to spend, they don't want to squander their money. So they're going to be looking for a specialist, okay? Someone who they can be absolutely sure is going to be able to do the job right. Wouldn't you, right? If you have $20,000 to renovate your kitchen, you're going to want someone who's not going to waste your money. You're going to look for someone who has done exactly the sort of work that you're looking to do. And you're sure that they can do it right. Maybe you're going to look for someone who has experience working in the exact materials that you want them to work in. Maybe you're going to look at their reviews. Maybe you're going to look at the pictures of previous renovations they've done. And you're going to be really specific. The more money you have, the more specific you're going to want to be. So they're looking for someone who specializes in the exact market they're in, okay? If they're in editorial, they're looking for an editorial illustrator and nothing else. If they're in picture book, they're looking for a picture book illustrator and nothing else. And they're looking for someone who has examples of exactly the kind of work that they need. So if you send them a portfolio that has everything in it, it's going to create 3 problems. First of all, they'll be confused. They're going to look at your portfolio. They're going to be like, wow, there's just so much here. What is this artist about? I have absolutely no clue. What am I looking at? Like there's logos and there's this cutesy illustration and then there's like a gore anime thing. And I have no clue what I'm even looking at, right? Second of all, most of what you're showing isn't relevant. So you might have a picture book illustration somewhere in there for that picture book client, but that's just 1 out of 20 illustrations and the 19 others not relevant. What are the chances that the art director is going to scroll through all of this to get to the 1 illustration that you're showing that's relevant to them? Not sure. Like, they're busy people. I wouldn't bet on them sticking around if the first 3 pictures are not what they're looking for. And 3, you're not showing consistency, okay? Very important. Like, maybe you have the 1 illustration in the style that they like, but they're going to be worried, okay, but they're showing all these other styles as well. Like, if I hire them, what am I actually going to get? And this creates doubts in their minds, and it makes them hesitant to hire you. Lucia says, specializing helps client to understand who you are and choose you for who you are. Absolutely. So what we're talking about right here is mostly like the market. Like if you're going for picture books, then you need picture book stuff, not logos or whatever else, right? But for the style, definitely they're going to be looking for your signature style and see if it fits well with the project that they're getting. And if you're showing multiple styles, they're going to be unsure of what they're going to get in the end. The other problem is if you're doing all sorts of styles, you're also not differentiating yourself, right? We talked about this in mistakes 4. So if you're imitating others, you're not differentiating yourself. But also if you're doing many styles, same thing, right? By doing everything, you're erasing what makes you special. Same thing. Moving on, mistake number 8, not having a highly efficient portfolio. So who here has a website portfolio that works really well for them? Let me know in the comments. This mistake here, it could present in 2 ways. First, it could be you don't have a website at all. Okay, so maybe you only have a Behance or an Instagram, but you're like, it's showing my work, right? That's good enough. Nope, not really. The second way that it could present itself is you do have a website, but it's not efficient. All right? So your website is your single most important business asset. Seriously. It's not just a random place to show your art, just like anything else that you have, like an Instagram. No. It's a business asset. It is your most important one. It's your home base. Every single potential client, every lead, every contact that you have, you're sending them there. Juan Jose says, not yet, doesn't have a portfolio yet. Lucia says, I'm trying to build it. Alicia says, I don't have one yet. Megan says, I like my portfolio site, but I'm not sure it's working well based on the last mistake. Oh, yeah. I'm going to develop a little bit more in this mistake, but definitely if you're not specialized, then your website is not efficient. And once the person is there, what a good website does for you is kind of magical, okay? Because it's going to take them on what we call in marketing a customer journey. They're going to get on your website, and from there, it's like a choreography. It's a planned itinerary. In an efficient website, you have thought of this. You're like, they're going to get here, then they're going to go there. Then from there, you've thought about all the steps, okay? It's not random, it's planned. And the customer journey will take them all the way from hearing about you for the very first time, all the way to sold, like convinced you are the artist that they need. That's what a website that's well built can do for you. Every single page on your website has to be an argument to win them over. And this isn't just about art skills, it's about any skills that make you hireable, right? That you're a professional person, that you can respect deadlines, that you communicate well, all of this stuff. That's what a good website does for you. It's a magical asset that does so much of the lifting for you. And unfortunately, most people do not have this because it's not something that's taught anywhere. I had to learn all of this the hard way. Even in art school, they don't teach you this, and it's such a shame. So if you don't have a great website, it's not your fault. It's because no one talks about this, but I'm talking about it now. Most illustrators have a poorly made portfolio or no portfolio at all. Random art thrown together, like all of your favorite pieces. The thing is, just because it's pretty art, it doesn't mean that it's efficient in your portfolio to convince an art director. Not showing all the skills that you need to demonstrate for a specific job. Supporting pages that are hastily put together and aren't showing that you are good for the job. And this is a huge missed opportunity. Without a good website, you can't convert your visitors. So same thing that we were talking about before when we were talking about Instagram conversion. You remember that? The same thing, okay? Visitors to your website, converting them to paying customers. If you don't have a good website, they arrive on your website and then they leave and nothing happens. And this is what leads to just running on that hamster wheel forever. Because you can be contacting all the clients. You can be working that social media like no one's business, right? You can be working all day long, sending your portfolio to people, but once they go there, they come out the other way, never contact you. So it's working a lot for no return because your website is not efficient. Ula says that's why we all need to learn a little bit of user experience rules. Absolutely. We all need this. It's absolutely a crucial skill. And this isn't just about art quality, again, okay? Because I've worked with many artists on their portfolio, and in a matter of days, we're able to make simple changes that completely change their careers. Things like changing up the navigation, rewriting their bios, adding a couple things here and there, clarifying the whole lot, sometimes even taking out portfolio pieces, not putting anything in, removing stuff, simple changes that completely transform how they're presenting themselves. And suddenly they're getting work. It's kind of amazing. Corlette says, I believe I have the same problem with my website. It's possible. If you're sending lots of people there, but no one's contacting you, that's because it's not converting them well. So if your website isn't pulling its weight, this is a priority, okay? It's a priority that you should be working on. Forget Inktober or Slovember or whatever else you're doing. This is the most important thing that you should be doing right now. All right, mistake number 9. I was about to say 8. Mistake number 9. Waiting to be perfect at art just to start your career. Do you have this problem? Let me know in the comments. I know that I had this problem and I meet a lot of artists who do too. All right, I've seen this time and time again. People tell me, I need to get better at this or that, and then I'll be ready to start contacting clients. Once I've reworked my portfolio again, then I will start contacting clients. One more color class, one more shading class, one more Procreate class, then I'll be ready. Tristan says, me. Yeah, it is because it's scary, and that's why. Most of the time, these things that I hear, it comes from amazing artists that are already good enough to get professional contract. Okay? So many of you, you're already good enough, but you're waiting because you're afraid of getting rejected, right? It is scary. Sometimes they're not going to respond. Sometimes you're going to be rejected. Like, it's so scary. You don't feel ready. So you want to be perfect. You're like, once I'm so perfect at art, then it's going to be so much easier because I won't be rejected when I'm perfect, right? Thing is, I know that if Norman Rockwell sends his portfolio, even he will be rejected because even if he's so good, his art isn't always the best for every single project, right? So you always get rejections. That it's not always a judgment on how good you are as an artist. Sometimes they're not looking for anyone right now. And they love you, but they're not looking for anyone. Sometimes they're looking for someone who does watercolor and you do digital, right? Sometimes they're looking for someone for something very adult and serious and you have a very cutesy style. It doesn't mean that you suck. It just means that at this moment, that's not what they're looking for. You're never going to be completely ready, but at some point you have to jump in. If you want to get your start, you're going to have to take that leap. And it's always going to be scary because it's taking you out of your comfort zone. It's the first time you do it. It's always scary to do something outside your comfort zone. And that's why so many artists wait too long. Way past the point where they could already have gotten professional work, they're waiting and waiting and waiting. The thing is, you can only get more comfortable contacting clients by contacting clients, right? Just waiting to be ready, it won't happen. You won't be ready just by waiting more. You have to take action to get more comfortable. You need practice. Querying clients, that's a whole skill set all of its own. And you need to practice this to get better at it. So if anything, if you start before your art is really ready, you get practice at contacting clients. It's really a win-win. Like, there's nothing to lose. There is nothing to lose because if you don't send out your portfolio, then the answer is always a no, for sure. If you really want an art career, at some point you're going to have to get started, right? And you don't need to be perfect just to start. Something that we all think that we need to be like the super best at art, okay? But what career out there expects you to be a master on your first day on the job? Seriously, think about it, okay? Your first day as a junior assistant accounting, do they expect you to be the best accountant in the world? They don't. It's your first day on the job. For art, why are we putting this expectation on ourselves? I don't know. You won't be the best just when you get started. You're going to get better over your career, okay? And that's fine because there are art contracts for different skills level. They're not all just looking for genius level. There are many other contracts that are looking for entry level. It's okay to not be perfect. Start taking steps now. And lastly, mistake number 10. This is the last one, guys. We've made it. Mistake number 10. Wasting your limited time, energy, and resources. All right? And this mistake, I've left it for last because it's the culmination of all the other mistakes that we've talked about. So when you do these mistakes, that's the tragedy. That's why it hurts so bad when you're making these mistakes. It's because you are wasting your precious time and energy on things that don't work. And I know that all of you are busy, right? You have things going on in your life. You don't have unlimited time and energy. Some of you have a day job, you have kids, you are in school. Okay, there's a limited amount of time that you can devote to your art. So when you're doing 8 different art styles or you're posting on Instagram all day long, you don't have any time left to spend on strategy that actually work. And that is the tragic part, right? So just a few things that we mentioned today, just to recap, things that are great to spend your time on. Developing a signature style, contacting clients directly, perfecting your website, or approving your commissions offer. Lucia says, it's so me, this last one. Yep. Sandrine says, can we sell our kids? Child trafficking is the answer. Don't quote me on that. All right, so these are just a few things that we've mentioned today to recap that are good to spend your time and energy on. So when we don't spend our time on strategies that work, that's when the feeling of spinning your wheels starts coming in, right? You're working a lot, you're working all the time, but you're never getting anywhere because you're working on the wrong things. Can you relate to this? If you do relate to this, then maybe I have something that could help you. because I've gathered all of my experience. I've analyzed everything that worked for me, everything that didn't work for me. Like I said, all the mistakes today that I talked about, I've done them myself, and I've analyzed the heck out of that. And finally, I came up with a strategy that really streamlines the whole process of becoming a professional illustrator. It's called the Art Business Bootcamp, and I'm super excited to invite you today. So the Art Business Bootcamp, I opened it for the first time for pre-orders last summer, and I taught it live in August. And since it was live, I closed it so I could work on the pre-recorded version. So the last few months, I've been working on making this a pre-recorded self-paced course. And finally, the Art Business Bootcamp is back. It's a complete program, very affordable, step-by-step program that's meant to take all the confusion out of starting your illustration career. So we've talked a lot today about what not to do. But if you're like, I think you're making sense, Ness, but I would also love a clear roadmap on what to do, like step by step. No more detours and wasting your time. This is a proven strategy that I've taught to over 75 students, and everyone has told me that is really helpful. I see some people in the comments, some of our alumni, Jenna, Letizia, are saying that they recommend it and that they loved it. I got so much good feedback from the Art Business Bootcamp that I taught in August, and it was really great because that's really all I want to do to help you start your career. And my students say that it works, so yay! Let's do this, right? This is the whole strategy here for the Art Business Bootcamp. There's just so much to tell that I've had to break it down into 3 courses. So the one that I'm talking about right now, the one that's opening, is level 1. It focuses on nailing your portfolio. So it's all the first few things that you need to do to start your career. And now it's open. So if you don't have a website yet, so many of you told me in the comments you don't have a website yet. So many told you have different styles or different things in your portfolio. This is for you because this is the course that helps you work all this stuff out in the shortest amount of time possible. This is a course that I really wish I had when I was starting out, right? I did all my first portfolio. It was crap. It didn't have the right things in it. I sent it out and I didn't get any work from it. And it was so discouraging. I wasted like 6 months. I could have saved all of this time if I just had this course. And that's why I put it together for you, so that you don't waste your time like I did. And we start from scratch. So even if you have no experience, no portfolio, no clue what you're doing, this course can help you. This is level 1. We start from the beginning. No more endlessly creating new art without any direction, or ogling successful illustrators, wondering why that can't be you, or putting off starting your illustration career because you just don't know where to start. If you're tired of doing things a slow and painful way, hop onto the fast lane with me. Hop onto the shortcut. I can help you fast track your success. My method is the 12-piece portfolio plan. It helps you come up with every single thing that you need in your portfolio. So I calculate that if you do 1 piece a week, you'll be done in 3 months, in 12 weeks. All right, so this is the Art Business Bootcamp here, your master shortcut. Here's everything that's included in it. Your complete guide to positioning yourself. So we go over every single illustration market, and I help you pick the one that's right for you. How to pick your genius zone. So that's what I call your genius zone, is the combination of your market and your style. I give you super tips to figuring out your style, okay? So you don't need to be wandering around trying to find it. You can fast track this. Everything that you need to include in your portfolio, your 12-piece portfolio plan. Now, this is my unique system, and it will absolutely blow your mind, okay? It's an 8-step method that helps you start with nothing and literally at the end up with a little table that tells you piece 1, do this, piece 2, do this, piece 3, do this. It's absolutely wonderful because it gives you so much clarity on what you need to do. Next, there's also a complete step-by-step tutorial of 2 different website building platforms. So we're doing Adobe Portfolio and Wix. There's a full hour and a half long tutorial for each one of these, or step by step how to build a website. So even if you suck at tech, you'll be able to follow this. What to put on every single page of your portfolio. So if you're like, what do you even write in a bio? What do I need to put on a projects page, or this and that? I'm going to tell you everything that you need to know to have that wonderful customer journey that we talked about earlier. And finally, how to set up your freelancing business, right? To be really on the up and up as a freelancer. Invoices, taxes, expenses. We're also writing a business plan, and I'm helping you set up your career goals. So all of this good stuff. I know that starting an illustration career is really hard, confusing, overwhelming. I've been there. I started my illustration career and I was hecka overwhelmed. But you don't have to do it all alone. I want you to meet one of my students that did the art business bootcamp with me in August. Meet Arlo. So this is his little avatar that he drew right there. He has the cutest style ever. Absolutely wonderful. Very, very skilled. But before he enrolled into the art business bootcamp, he still had trouble finding clients. Part of this was because he didn't have a website, okay? He just had his Instagram. Part of it was his pieces that he was showing were not well adapted to the market that he was aiming for, which was picture books. So he enrolled into the art business bootcamp and really ran with the advice. Seriously, he did all the work. He worked really, really hard. And I just recently heard back from him. He told me, I completed my portfolio the other day and sent it to some publishers and agents, and I immediately received a reply from Lemonade Agency, and I've officially signed with them. Woo! Congrats, Arlo. I was so happy with him. And his artwork is the same, right? This is in about 10 weeks. Like, this is from August that he started reworking this. All right, so his art hasn't actually changed all that much in that time. It's entirely his strategy, his wonderful website that is a clear customer journey, and all of the strategies that we talked about in the course. That's what turned it around from not being able to get clients to being signed with the top agencies as soon as he sent out an application. Wonderful. This is the sort of thing what Arlo accomplished that's possible when you get some professional guidance. So invest in yourself, invest in your dreams. Investing in yourself is honestly the best money you've ever spent. I know that this is something that you really want, but just to make sure if this is right for you, we're gonna go over a few things right here. So first of all, you already need to know how to draw, okay? So you can still improve. Again, you don't need to be perfect to start, but this isn't an art course. We're only talking about business. So I'm not teaching you how to draw in this course, okay? So if you're thinking that it's a kind of art course, that's not what it is, and it's not the right fit for you. However, if you currently do art in your free time or part-time, but you're really ready to kick this up a notch and get to full-time as quickly as possible, this is for you. If maybe you have a social media profile, but you don't have a website yet, maybe you're intimidated trying to build a website, this is for you, because literally I will hold you by the hand and help you build that website. Or if you already have a website, but it is not efficient, and maybe while you were listening to me explain what a website is supposed to do for you, you were like, you know, I'm kind of getting the feeling that my website isn't doing that. Then in this course, I can teach you how to turn that around and transform your website into a conversion machine. This course is entirely pre-recorded and self-paced. So all the lessons are there waiting for you on the platform, as are all of the materials. You can get access to this literally right now. And there are some bonuses. All right, apart from the lessons, you also get the market guides. So this is actually brand new. This is something that I added since the art bootcamp that I taught in August. A lot of people still had trouble deciding on their markets, and I spent a lot of time individually with each person just explaining basically what each market is a bit more in detail to help them make their decision. So I decided to put this information into market guides. It's 11 PDF guides, one for each market, and it really goes deep into how this market works, if it's the right fit for you, how to figure out if it's the right fit for you. Illustration market, Pinterest board. So if you're visual, I've put examples of each market into Pinterest board so you can see if you feel that maybe you might fit in there. My 12-piece portfolio plan worksheets, honestly, I think that by itself, these worksheets are worth the price tag of the course. They're just that amazing. A resource page, so every single resource, app, website that I mentioned are all cataloged on a page so you can easily find what you're looking for. A website checklist so you can self-evaluate if your website is hitting everything. Your business plan template. Invoice template. I also have spreadsheets that I'm giving you for tracking your income and expenses. Also, nowadays, I don't do my expenses and income with spreadsheet anymore. I'm doing with Airtable, and I'm explaining to you in a course, it's lesson 8, I think, how I use it, and I'm giving you my Airtable-based template. This is also completely new. And the access to the exclusive Facebook group for students only. So a few of you here today that were students have access to the group, and there's a lot there. You can share your portfolio plan, you can share your work, get a lot of help from the other students, and of course from me too. So all of this is easily worth over $500 because really you can't put a price on starting your dream career. It is really an investment in yourself because it's going to come back to you, right? You learn this stuff, start your career, and then it's going to pay for years to come. But I really wanted this to be affordable so I can help as many people as possible. I didn't want this to have like a price tag of like $1,000 or something. I wanted to make sure it was going to be affordable. So I've decided to charge $197 for it. As for ask, how long will we be able to access the videos? You have lifetime access, which doesn't actually mean forever because at some point I will die. But you know what I mean. As long as this course exists, which is, years and years and years, you will have access to it. You can also download the videos. So this is $197, or something that was highly requested last time and I've listened is a payment plan. So many of you asked me if I was going to do installments this time. So I've went in and figured out how to do that. So you can also do 3 payments of $75 if that's easier for you. If you'd like to jump on in, you go to artbusinesswithness.com/level1 and I will pop the link in the chat right now. All right. So you can go to this link, and if you want to jump in and be able to start watching the lessons right away, or, even if you're only able to start next week or next month or next year, you have lifetime access. So you can secure your access right now if you wish, because I actually have a coupon for you. $20 off with the coupon DREAMS. This is an early bird coupon, so make sure to use that if you're going to get the course. It's only working for 3 days, so until November 7th, make sure to use your coupon DREAMS for $20 off. And if you choose the payment plan option, it will be $667 off per payment. So times 3, that adds up to $20. Here are some wonderful testimonials from some of my students who did the course with me in August. I'm gonna let you read that a little bit if you like. I need to take a sip because my voice is just completely going. All right. So Maria Zameka said, anything she explained suddenly seems so much clearer and simpler. Brenna said, I already feel like this is the best $197 I've ever spent. Nicole said, I just finished lesson 4. Lesson 4 is the one where I explained how to do the 12-piece portfolio plan. And she said, what a fantastic tool this portfolio planning sheet is. I listened to a lot of talks on what to include in the portfolio, and I don't want to knock them, but I never came away with an exact plan like I will when I do this exercise. Ponya says, this course enlightened me in so many ways, and I'm so glad I had the opportunity to join this class. Ahmed says, this class is perfect for any illustrator, beginner, or advanced, and I put together a perfectly organized roadmap. And Rebecca says, I highly recommend joining Vanessa's bootcamp. Rebecca, it's actually interesting because after my bootcamp, she decided to take a very advanced children's book illustration class. And she says that now she's realized that this bootcamp has put her ahead of the other students. Even some folks who are already illustrators are already working on their own books, etc. So that's interesting. I was really glad to hear her say that, you know, the knowledge that she gained in this class was really putting herself ahead of the others, and she was able to see that very directly compared to other students of this very advanced class that she's taking. So this is it for this class today. If you would like to continue with me, like, this isn't mandatory or anything like that. I'm just really happy that you came here today to learn with me. You can take all of the knowledge that you learned today and just run with it. But if you liked the way that I teach, if you like my advice, and you would like to have a roadmap for your next steps, then you can join me in the Art Business Bootcamp. I would absolutely love to have you and to help you develop your portfolio and start your career together. Sandrine says it was really helpful. I'm glad you thought so. Thank you everyone for coming. Are there any questions at all? Madonna says, sounds like a great bootcamp. Will the course tackle how to approach agents? It will in level 3. So like I said, this is only level 1 because building your portfolio and website is the first step, right? You can't contact agents or clients or do anything until you have this very solid foundation in your portfolio. We are going to talk about agents definitely because they are such an important part of a healthy illustration career. However, I haven't finished working on level 3. I'm hoping to launch level 2 early next year in January, and I'm hoping to launch level 3 in the spring. But you know, this so much work building a building an online course is even more work than I ever thought it would be. And so sadly, I haven't finished these courses yet. I'm working very, very hard on them. For right now, only level 1 is available, but you still need to do it before you can get to the agents. So it's still a very good first step. Ula says, is there a limited number of seats on the course? Not at this time. There was a limited amount of seats on the live course, but this one is pre-recorded. So there are not a limited amount of seats. I know some of the gurus, they say that you have to say that there are limited seats even if there aren't, so that people feel, you know, kind of a pressure to join. I think that's just icky. I would never lie to you. There are no limited seats. You can join anytime you want. However, there is currently a coupon, so it's a good time to join, but it will be available, you know, for a very long time. So if you want to join next year or whatever, you can. Mayi said, is there a problem if I'm in Spain because of the time change to get feedback? Oh, it's no problem. You might have to wait overnight if I'm sleeping, but I will always get back to every single person as soon as I'm able. I don't think I've ever let anyone wait more than a day to answer. I answer questions at night, on the weekends. I think I need to get myself some boundaries, but I'm not there yet. I just like so much to talk with the students that I will answer literally as soon as I see your email. Lucia says, do you think that the bootcamp can help a comic artist like me? Absolutely. In the first lesson, all the different markets, we touch on graphic novels and the comic book market. Indeed, we have a Pinterest board on it. And the thing is, this advice that I'm giving you is general. It can be applied to every market. So I'm giving you a very tight framework for finding out how you can adapt this to your market. Right? So I'm giving you guiding questions for determining the types of skills that you will need to show to be able to get work in your market, to appeal to art directors in your market. And it's a framework that can be followed no matter what you're doing. In the first bootcamp, we had people who were picture book artists, We had people who were aiming more for the middle grade. We even had someone who wanted to do scientific illustration. Jana was here today. She is going into surface design, and she's already got some wonderful greeting card contracts. So people of all markets are coming to the bootcamp, and it can be helpful across the board. Corlette says, do you review websites if we give you a link? Absolutely. I will be happy to review your website when it's finished. Literally every step of the way. Like if you want me to review your portfolio plan, anything like that, I will review it. All right, so I don't see any more questions, but if you think of something or if you have any trouble getting into the course, send me an email or send me a DM or anything like that. Well, it's time to say goodbye. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. We had a blast. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.